Hello everybody and welcome back. We've got the back nine final round from the 2017 Ledgestone Insurance Open presented by Discraft. You got double Nates joining you again. We're not Nate squared, we are double Nates, I think. Myself, Nate Sexton, and our TD, Nate Heinold. We are watching the chase card today. Say what's up to everybody, Nate.
What's up? I like that. Double Nate. That's not going to offend Nate Doss. I think that's good.
Perfect. All right, hole 10. We got another new hole to the course this year. It looks to me like a chance to just kind of open up and rip, which is really nice as a design feature, I think, on a course that can be so punishing. Give the players a chance to just kind of uncork one, slightly downhill, 500 feet, OB behind the basket.
Yeah, it probably plays like 470, but definitely something that just favors pure distance.
Yeah, which these guys have plenty of. I'm expecting all these discs to get in there pretty close.
Yeah,
Nate doesn't disappoint.
That's his Z-force. That's right in the circle there.
Cam has a big arm as well.
If you're on the lead card or chase card, you probably have a big arm.
Most likely. At this tournament, I would think that it can pay some big benefits, I'd say, if you're going getting to bite off a lot off the tees. James Cole can crush. So let's see this. He's going pure hyzer. Not a problem.
Pure hyzer
is parked.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's a huge shot.
That was pure hyzer. Hat falls off, puts it right back on, no problem.
He's smooth. And KJ, probably a destroyer. Jumping right up, similar spot, right around 10, 11 meters from the basket.
They're all putting like you'd expect. The only real danger here is, as you said, going long left into the water.
Yeah, how far do you think it is to the OB line there?
It's probably 18 feet, 20 feet. So it's... okay. But there's some cabbage in the way to kind of keep the disc from really falling. You have to really skip it by the basket.
Enough to get in your head, but still fair.
Sure.
Nate for birdie, and he connects. A couple close misses from KJ and Cam. Nate looks like he's talking to some fans out here.
He's talking to the guy that got his disc out of the peninsula hole, I think. So.
Oh, nice. He's got the mojo going now. And James with just a park job. Beautiful drive there. There's an enthusiastic fan over there, for sure. We like to see that. You always like to hear some cheers when you birdie a 500-foot hole. It's nice to have somebody clapping.
Yeah, these pros take it pretty seriously, but it's fun to see them having some fun at this very challenging course.
Yeah, of course. Okay, hole 11. This is a hole that we have played a couple years now. Only 240 feet, but again, that OB water can come into play. It's a good little forehand shot or maybe like a turnover putter.
Yeah, you know what? I think everybody is throwing forehand here. When I saw MJ throw a forehand, Nate Doss throw a forehand, and Josh. Wow. But Nate Doss, I think he's switching it up here.
Look at him. He wants to prove it can be done, and it can.
And I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I think he'll probably make another birdie from there. Merely 4 feet from the basket.
This is as close to a must-get as you can have in this course. 70% of the field actually birdied this hole in the last round. You do not want to miss this hole.
Yeah, this has to be the easiest hole in the course, statistically, I would think.
Actually, yeah, it's right there with hole 7. They're very close, statistically.
Yeah, this one to me even a little easier just because less trees.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, no.
Wow, that was...
That was a strange little reaction off the ground. Bit of a miscue, and he's going to be out of bounds there.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best drive, but that easily could have just skipped straight right towards the basket, though.
Yeah. Maybe that fringe of grass kind of caught the disc.
Yep.
KJ's a rare forehand type of guy, so he's going to just throw a smooth putter straight at the basket.
And when you can do that, why not?
Yeah, for sure. Man, Cam with a nice effort there, going at the water, really good commitment to get the disc high enough, but not quite connecting. Easy birdie from KJ.
And Cam's gonna, that one hurts when you're having your card star birdie it, when you have most of the field birding it. Taking a bogey there is deflating.
Yeah, and it's always like, it's like the last hole it's like the least intimidating hole. So it's always kind of a weird mental battle to be like, wait a minute, I got a bogey on this hole? I was worried about so many other holes, and this is the one I bogeyed?
Yep.
Can be a little bit tough to handle sometimes.
Cam's a professional. I'm sure he can get it back, but he's had a little bit of a tough round here. He's +1. The other guys are just 3 and 2 under, so no one's really tearing it up here. But they're going into the stretch now where they've gotten through the 2 of the hardest holes in the course in 5 and 6, and then we come to this hole, Nate.
Yeah, this is a tough one, but it's gettable. I mean, the basket here, the water tower hole is right behind the water tower. You've got kind of an island green. There is an area to lay up if you really need to, but I don't expect to see that out of this group.
No, there were 42 birdies this round. I actually had a buddy text me today and said, man, that hole's tough. I saw people laying up, and I thought, I'm not sure who's laying up here. If you have even 400-foot power, you can get it there. And Nate just showed it right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot. You can count on, if you get it at least up past the midpoint of that water tower, you're going to get a good bounce. Unless you really get unfortunate, take a big roll. But I guess you do have the wall, so... Or is the OB line just inside?
Jeez. The wall is actually... The wall's actually off the OB line. It was put there for a few hours in practice without my knowledge, and I actually had it removed because it would have made the hole too hard. So I like the wall off the green. And one thing to note on this hole: if you hit the tower, you haven't really thrown a good shot, in my opinion. You want to get it to the right of the tower, or you want to skip something in. Hitting the tower, you could easily go out of bounds. In fact, I've seen a lot of that this week.
Yeah, well, those two guys got pretty fortunate then, because those off the tower, they've put themselves in position. Looks like Cam got it a little wider, and that's pretty much the ideal shot.
Yeah, I guess that's good.
It's a good bounce back after the last hole. Give himself no stress birdie. Man, James is just powering up on some discs today. Good putt there.
Anytime you can just throw a straight hyzer uphill to a 354 hole playing like maybe 450 that's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, KJ with a rare miss.
Yeah, he had some people behind him that were moving. He had to back off once. And when you have that kind of gallery, it's tough to keep them all under control, especially when a lot of them don't know anything about disc golf.
Yeah, absolutely. But keep this tournament coming back every year, and they're going to learn.
Yeah,
so that'll be good. This whole community is hungry for this event to be there, and good fan support. It looks like today, as in past years.
Yeah, and you can see even all the vendors just behind this hole. It felt really like a festival experience this week.
That's great. Nice birdie from Cam. 3 good birdies, and KJ real close to a birdie. So a really well played hole from the group.
I mean, anything in bounds there, putting is a good drive.
Yes.
Lifetime warranty, and 1% back to the planet. Tempercraft USA. Temper your thirst.
All right, hole 13, par 5. I sort of feel like this is the signature hole of the course. What do you think, Nate?
There's a couple, but this is my favorite hole in the course. I think I've said that twice already, but this hole is got to be the signature hole over water for almost 1,100 feet, 0.2 of a mile. It's just an iconic hole.
Yeah, you want a big hyzer tee shot, try to get up that hill into a safe landing zone, just like Nate is doing here. And then it's about, if you get it left enough, you kind of have a tunnel shot. If you stay out on the edge, you could go big hyzer again.
Yeah, and the preferred play here is keeping it as close to the water as possible. The big hyzer is the play. Going to the left side is really challenging to make a birdie.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to throw 2 big hyzers in a row and then kind of look at your approach into the green.
And you don't want to throw it too far off the tee. James there may have thrown it a little too far. You kind of want to keep it as close to the water as you can. I know that sounds challenging, and it is very challenging, but that's the preferred spot right there, to be honest.
Yeah, Cam really hung that out wide. Great confidence to put the disc out over the water for such a long time of the flight. And just knowing his discs and his game well enough to stick it right where he wants it. KJ doing a similar thing. Just a little more up the hill, but that should be pretty good.
We actually trimmed a lot off that first tree this year just to give that spot right there disc to land past that tree, and I think that was a positive change for this hole.
Yeah, that's good. I think you don't want people pinned in too early on what appears to be a pretty good drive. You don't want to pin them in on a par 5 on the second shot right away.
And while these guys are throwing, just want to thank Innova for sponsoring this coverage here. Thanks to Discraft for sponsoring the event and all the other sponsors.
Yes, and the Jomez boys as well. I mean, without all these different companies and all the passionate people, we wouldn't be able to watch this great coverage and watch disc golf every day if we want to. So really appreciate everybody who steps up, and including our TDs. Nate himself putting in countless hours of work to bring you this event.
Yeah, and as you can see, as I said about James, he really has to take that way over the water and almost spike that disc.
Wow.
Because he threw it too far, but honestly, that wasn't a problem for him.
That's a great shot. Yeah, that's a throw he can do for sure. Go huge, really high, and let the disc glide back way to the left.
And see, Nate actually hyzered his second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nate hyzered his second shot too much, so he actually had to take the anhyzer around and really didn't have a really easy look at the basket at all.
No, not at all. Looks like he's put himself in range for a pretty easy par, though.
KJ did the same thing. The wind was coming right to left really hard, and so that's why their discs faded off that hill a lot more. And that was as good as he was probably going to do from that angle. Yeah,
and that's what I was going to say earlier, is that this hole, once the wind does come up, this hole goes from being hard to being super hard. I mean, playing over all that water into wind is so difficult. Cam with a great shot there. It looks to be just inside the circle with a birdie look. And James is really playing this hole well now. He got himself out of that little tricky spot right out on the edge where he can throw a way more comfortable shot into the green. But he is juiced it a little bit too much.
And that was the popular shot today, was being long left in that hole. The green was fast, and the wind was moving that way.
Yeah, and you just can't come up short in the water. The mistake has to be on the safe side.
Absolutely.
I have seen KJ make a lot of those. That's a range that he's really good at with that high spin rate type of putt.
And you can see the wind affecting this hole. All of their shots, their second shots looked in good position, but the wind really played a factor on those third shots.
Yeah, but Cam sinking the birdie, right? I mean, that is pretty nice.
That's a nice birdie. Bounce back after a tough hole back on the short sidearm hole.
To make 2 birdies in a row.
Yep.
And KJ hits his comebacker. He had a little bit of distance left because he did decide to run that putt. And Nate and James will take the drop-in pars. We've got Nate and James, both 4 under. Cam has moved to 1 under. KJ's still at 2 under. Hole 14, a par 4, 805 feet. This is a new hole, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's actually, the basket used to be right where this gentleman was throwing from. We just pushed it back another 500 feet to the right, and just a phenomenal, challenging par 4.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful hole.
Placement shot off the tee. You kind of want to throw it at least 350, kind of just down the chute. I've seen some rollers. Anything, though, kind of past that clump is in position to go for the birdie.
Nice. Looks like we got an OB rope along the entire left side.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it comes into play a little bit. I didn't really see too many shots go that far over there because the angle of the hill goes towards the water, so you're not going to skip too far left.
Yeah. More just a fairway separator from the next hole, correct?
Correct, exactly. If there was no hole over there, there would be no rope probably because it wouldn't really.
Yeah.
It doesn't really add challenge to the hole except for the big roller, which I've seen a few players throw. So that does make them think twice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is on that roller drive, you couldn't just have as much cut as you wanted. You have to kind of control it in there a little bit. That might be tough over there.
He's probably 500 feet from the basket with a really tough angle, and James is a long ways. He hit kind of early here.
Look at this shot. Is he going to try to turn it over? No, he's playing a little bit safe.
I think he was just playing for 4. I mean, he was actually behind the 50-foot stake. So
yeah.
he or the 500-foot stake, sorry. So he had more than 500 feet.
Yeah, you're not going to see many people go over the water more than 500 in tournament play.
Especially if he goes in the water, it's almost a rethrow.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't have crossed inbounds, and that's a really aggressive line there by Cam.
Big shot. Beautiful.
Wow.
Really well thrown.
This is a tough angle. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to go out over the water a lot. Doesn't have enough to come back. Oh, that is awesome.
That's a great shot. He's pin high, 28 feet. That's what you want to see on this hole.
Wow, I bet he was scared when he let that go. That couldn't be any closer to going out of bounds.
Looks like Nate's going Predator, I think, off the second shot here.
That's pretty well done. He had the best drive in the group. Lets him kind of go with a little bit higher line, stay away from the water. I think anytime you're putting on a hole this long, you'll be pretty happy. Nice layup from James. Makes for an easy par.
Looks like Nate just snuck outside the circle here.
Man, that's got to be his third outside the circle make this round, don't you think?
I think it was. He's putting really well this round and this tournament.
Yeah, he is.
And he gets the SloMez there.
It's no accident. When you're putting well, you're on the second or the first card. If you're a thrower with the talent that Nate has, if he can putt well, there's no stopping him. Cam with another birdie.
I mean, he's really rebounded from missing the short sidearm hole, and good for him.
And KJ takes his meter. Oh, shoot.
Oh, just a little high.
Disappointing, because after taking that meter from the out of bounds, he was really pretty close to the basket.
You know what, though? That hole is, you're not going to be disappointed with the par there. I'm sure he is where his shot was, but that's not an easy hole. Surprisingly enough, it played as the 9th most difficult, so it didn't play as one of the most difficult holes, but it still feels like it should be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a hole where birdie is very difficult. Par is probably not that tough.
Sure.
So it's not going to statistically go too crazy because I think most of these guys are smart enough not to go 450 feet over water.
Sure.
But that doesn't make it a bad hole. Just makes it it's going to be statistically not necessarily that hard, but still birdieing it is quite a feat.
Hole 15 here, Nate, is another new hole. It comes right back the other way. Plays like 360, so you really probably can't get a mid-range there. I think Cam is throwing one, so he's proving me wrong. But I think it probably takes a fairway driver for most players.
Yep.
It plays 370 uphill with a tight turn. I mean, you can't throw it straight. You have to turn it 30 to 40 feet to the right.
And what about, is Big Heiser in play?
No, there's a Mando there just because we have a road over there.
Yeah, that's smart.
And honestly, I was trying to balance the course out a little bit with lefty versus righty holes. And
Sure.
this hole is really a lefty Heiser hole if you're a left-hander.
Yeah, it looks like a appetizing forehand to my eye.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the forehands that I've seen thrown have not gotten to the basket. It takes a crush to get there.
Yeah, I bet. Uphill, that's a long way.
And there's no skip on the ground at all.
Yeah. KJ has a really nice turnover shot. See if he can show us how it's done here. Yeah, I like the look of that. I think that might be an old PD.
That's a good drive. This is a hole where a lot of birdies, a lot of pars and some birdies. 21% of the field birdied it, but 2/3 parred it. So not a lot of bogeys. There is some OB. You could see some rollaway putts, but it's a hole that you really should be getting a par or a birdie.
Yeah, you're just going to set yourself up to make a nice putt, because a long hole plus elevated basket, you're going to have a lot of kind of this style of putt where you make it, it's a really, really nice shot.
You just don't want it to bounce away 20, 25 feet, because 20 feet on an elevated basket is a scary putt still.
If the wind is going, it's absolutely scary no matter what. Man, KJ again with a kind of a surprising miss. That's pretty crazy. He's a very, very solid putter usually.
I just spoke too soon. I said a 20-foot putt on an elevated basket is too tough, and I spoke too soon there.
Yeah, we can probably put that one on you, not KJ so much. So
I get blamed for a lot of things for this course, so we'll just add that one to the list.
Yeah, what's one more thing, right? There you go. Cleaning up a couple of pars. Played tough for him. All pars for the group. Here we are back at hole 16, a par 4, 606 feet. Kind of goes down a valley and then back up over a hill and then a little bit downhill again at the basket.
Yeah, it's a blind shot from the tee. You'll see forehands here, you'll see backhands, you'll see rollers. So there's some good variety off the tee here.
Yeah. You got OB down left?
Yeah, we got OB ropes down left because that's where hole 13's fairway is actually.
Yeah, but that's inbounds, not quite what he wanted.
Yeah,
and then you have a pretty punishing bush on the right if you do go hard right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bush. I would say it's a wall. It's so thick in there that there's no way to get a line. And Nate's throwing, I think that's his old XL roller, and that's got to sit down.
It looked like it might have. I think he's going to be able to at least make a shot from there. But yeah, that's dangerous. Getting in there, you may just end up wasting a shot and just pitching out 30 feet.
It looks like he's okay there. And this one that one's really got to come out. That one's, I said it and it did it.
Heinold will take it away, but he'll give it right back. Sometimes he's going to help the players. Other times, I mean, that's a good TD.
What can I say? And see, KJ's throwing the Anheuser line, and that'll probably bounce out a little bit. So no one really threw a fantastic drive there, but no one's in complete jail.
Yeah. It's a tough... I remember this upshot for me was always kind of tough to gauge the distance just because it did drop downhill. It's a little bit tricky just to know, you can sort of throw the shot and be like, I think it's parked, and you get up there and you're 40 short or 40 long.
Sure. And there's actually a Mando on that power pole to the right there, so that's probably why Cam didn't take that big hyzer over the road.
Again, a safety, Mando. Smartly done, I think.
Yep.
Just keep the road out of play.
And KJ was out of position there, but he still got it up there to where he's 45 feet away for birdie.
Yeah, that's not bad. Maybe a little bit of a flex forehand here, I would think.
Yeah, I like this shot a lot. And that didn't look like a flex, actually. That's got to sit down, actually.
I think his brain was thinking flex, but his arm said no, just pure hyzer.
And see, Nate was close enough to the basket where he actually was able to get that down there without having too much trouble.
Yeah, he threw such a long roller. Even if it didn't find the perfect position, he was still able to get up there. Cam pitches one up. See if KJ can kind of right the ship. A couple short misses. Oh, man. Would have been nice to see him hit one from a little distance.
And James is, lost in the wall of the bush there.
Wow. But he was not OB yet, right? He's just over there kind of stuck.
And the OB is the road, so it looked like he was just in the bush.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's another birdie for Nate, and he's really, these last 2 rounds, he had I wouldn't say a slow start but maybe a slow start for him, but he really picked it up round 3 and has had a nice 4th round.
Yeah, he's kind of pacing the group here, I think, hitting the putts he needs to. Snappy to get, oh no.
Ooh, that was tough. It was a little bit of a, no, I won't say anything. It was the basket, so.
For the par, that's tough to swallow, but, spit outs do happen. Always tough to have happen, though. Yeah, now he's going to make extra sure that thing stays in there. Looked like it just kind of cut right through the pole.
Yeah, he threw it on a little bit of a hyzer, but, that was just a bad spit out, so.
Yep, it can happen. I've seen it many times. All right, hole 17, the island hole across the water, 285 feet into a rectangular green. You got to land it on the green to advance, otherwise you're going to a drop zone.
Yeah, this is a fun hole for spectators to sit back there and watch disc fly in. Even my son, who doesn't really like disc golf, enjoyed watching people throw in the water, actually. So, but I think it's fun to watch here. And here's Nate. This is actually a drone that he put in the bag. I'm not sure specifically for this shot, but I haven't seen him throwing it on any other hole, and that wasn't quite far enough.
Yeah, just got super overstable on him.
A drone is very overstable, but to get this angle right, you have to take it way right, kind of just like Cam just did there.
Yeah, this looks a little bit better. Oh, a lot better. Really nice.
Are we going to see a FollowFlight here? Because that looked close.
Yeah, it really did. Let's see what we got. It looked like it came just short of the chains.
That looked beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, just a few feet at most short of making contact.
And you can see the sand right in front of the pad about 15 feet. This pad's actually back about 18, 15 feet from last year.
Okay. That makes a difference on a hole like this.
Yeah, just to give a little more challenge, a little more distance after removing the stroke and distance aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I'm expecting pretty big hyzer here. A little lower than I thought.
It's
got enough distance.
Yeah, that's got to get up.
Oh, wait a minute. Did it skip off the dock?
It did. I've seen a few of those. That skipped off the dock onto the green. That's what you want to see there.
Wow, that's awesome.
You know what? The last hole took one away. That hole just gave it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate can kind of stop the bleeding there. If there's a good upshot from the drop zone, he can get out with single bogey. Man, must have been a little bit windy there. He had to kind of go to a really spin-heavy putt.
All right.
Nice putt from KJ for the birdie.
If players have noticed, or if the fans have noticed the players teeing off from the left or right of the pad, we did give the players the option on a handful of holes with some marked areas to tee off from the other side of the pad if they didn't want to use the rubber pads.
Yeah, they can get a little bit slippery in certain conditions, so that's always kind of nice to have that option, just for player safety more than anything.
And we did it as a precaution with rain in the forecast, though it didn't come any of the days really, except for 10 minutes for one day. We did it as a precaution.
Yeah, that's smart.
So hole 7.
Nice birdies.
Yep.
Yeah. And the one bogey from Nate.
So it looks like Nate probably has 5th place locked up unless he has a bad hole here. So hole 18, same hole as last year, Nate. Kind of a fun, hard finishing hole.
Yeah, it's tough. 711 feet, quite a few trees. As always, some water. But it's a little different than the feel of those last few since the water's on the other side. Now it's on the player's left.
Sure. I mean, would it be Lake Eureka without water and ropes, Nate?
Not at all. It's a little too safe. Flipped it over, hit a branch. He's going to have probably too far to the basket to think about birdie.
Yeah, it's a tough.
I like the roller here.
Yeah, it's a tough backhand hole. The roller is definitely the preferred play.
Just needs to sit down, though.
Oh, he wants to go swinging.
But that's safe, right?
He's safe.
Okay, yeah, not a bad spot as long as there's not an actual swing right in his swing.
I guess we'll see.
Another roller. Looks like some pretty good angle, but a very flippy disc.
Yeah.
Might be going to this playground.
Well, I think he kind of wanted to join KJ on the swings there, so
Can't blame him.
it looks fun. And Nate's going right back to that XL roller. And that looks like a really good angle. Yep, he's kind of,
Yeah.
I think that,
That's a good spot.
I like where he is for sure.
We'll have Cam, I gotta think, kind of laying up here. I mean, he's gonna throw a power shot, but there's not a whole lot of chance he could reach the basket.
No, he's probably 500 plus feet away with a bunch of trees in the way. That's just a layup there for sure.
Yeah, placement shot. Lucky thing that guy went diving in the water because Nate's back on that wasp.
He is. And that was just a little too high. Speaking of, getting in the water, we had a scuba diver get into the lake by hole 1 actually to get some discs out. So
Nice. I think there was a literal swing in his way because he went forehand, and I really wouldn't expect him to do that.
yeah, I think he was a little obstructed there.
So,
And
see what Snappy can do. He got a little bit more distance.
Yeah, he's right in front of the 250 line, and I think he probably could have tried the backhand there. That was a tough line with a forehand, Nate.
Yeah, interesting. Must have just been either a wind thing or just the placement of the trees, or he's worried about a skip down towards the water. Who knows?
Sure.
But something must have made him feel like that was the better play.
Well, certainly a hyzer there is going to skip really hard towards the water.
Yeah. Cam just laying up here. He got himself a little bit of a tester putt to finish out this tournament, but he should be able to come away with par. Nate gonna try to do the same, see if he can get in a little closer. And he can. That'll be an easy one. Should give him 5th place in the tournament. And with 5th place comes a pretty nice payday. I mean, if there's one thing that the Ledgestone always delivers on, it's a huge payout. Since the inception of the event, it's been a bright spot in the calendar, the tour year, in terms of added money.
Yeah, I mean, the top 23 players get a minimum $1,000 as Cam makes a nice putt there.
Yeah, that is a nice putt. That's really good. And I mean, what first place ended up 6,500 this year?
6,500. Second place was 4,500. So certainly a nice bonus for the players to come here and get a good paycheck.
Absolutely. Good tournament from Snappy.
Was really happy to see KJ here. KJ was just a nice guy, and he said he's enjoyed his time here. He's going to come back next year, so we like to hear that.
Yeah, KJ's a class act for sure. There he is, congratulating Nate on a good round. Those guys will go back a long way with all the trips that Nate's made to Europe and KJ to the States. Being at the top of the game for a long time. Everybody takes par there. Finishing at 18 is Nate, and everyone else tied at -16. Here's our final leaderboard. Josh Anthon, an absolute man on a mission. I mean, when is the last time someone not named Macbeth or Wysocki won by that much? I do not know.
And one wire to wire.
Really incredible. So anyway, congrats to Josh. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to Jomez. Thanks to Nate Heinold. Really glad to have everybody tuning in for all the coverage and hoping to bring you guys a lot more as the season goes on.
We'll see you later, Nate.